Liberalism is one of the most influential political ideas in the modern world. At its core, its focus on individual freedom, equal right, and the belief that every person deserves respect and dignity. Liberal thinkers argue that people should have the freedom to make choices about their own lives as long as they do not harm others. The root of liberalism can be tracked back to the Enlightenment period in Europe. During this time, thinkers challenged absolute monarchy, religious domination, and inherited privilege. They argue that human beings are rational and capable of governing themselves. This belief laid the foundation for modern democratic societies. Liberalism emphasized several important values. These include liberty, equality before the law, individual right, private property, and the limited government. Liberals believe that government exists to protect citizens, freedom rather than control every aspect of their lives. Over time, liberalism evolved into different forms. Classical liberalism focused mainly on individual freedom and limited government intervention. Later, modern liberals recognized that social and economic inequalities could restrict real freedom, leading them to support welfare measures and social justice policies. This evolution created important debates about justice and equality. Liberal thinkers began asking difficult questions. How should wealth be distributed? What makes a society fair? How can freedom and equality be balanced? These questions become central to modern liberal political philosophy. Several influential thinkers attempt to answer this question. Among them, Jhon Rawls, Robert Nozick, Ronald Dworkin, and Amartya Sen made major contributions. Their theories offer different visions of justice, equality, and freedom within a liberal framework. We begin with John Rawls, whose theory of distributive justice transformed political philosophy in the 20th century. Rawls sought to create principles that could make society fair for everyone, especially those who are least advantaged. Jhon Rawls believed that justice is most important virtue of a society. According to him, social institutions such as government, laws, and economic system should be organized in a way that treat people fairly and protect their basic rights. To discover fair principle of justice, Rawls introduced a famous thought experiment called the original position. Imagine that people are asked to design the rules of society before knowing their own place within it. This imaginary situation helps remove personal bias. In the original position, individuals stand behind what Rawls called the veil of ignorance. Behind this veil, they do not know whether they will be rich or poor, powerful or weak, talented or disadvantaged, because no one knows their future position. Everyone must think fairly. Rawls argued that rational individuals behind the veil of ignorance would choose principles that protect everyone. Since they could end up among the least advantaged members of society, they would create rules that prevent extreme inequalities and unfair treatment. The first principle they would choose is the principle of equal liberty. According to this principle, every person should enjoy equal basic freedom. This includes freedom of speech, freedom of religion, political participation, and protection under the law. Rawls considered these basic liberties extremely important. He argued that no economic advantage or social benefit should come at the cost of fundamental freedom. In a just society, equal liberty must be granted for all citizens without exception. The second principle deals with social and economic inequalities. Rawls accepted that inequalities may exist, but only under certain conditions. Wealth and opportunities are not automatically unjust. What matters is whether they benefit society fairly. This idea is known as the difference principle. According to Rawls, inequalities are acceptable only if they improve the condition of the least advantaged member of society. In other words, social arrangement should work to help those who are worst off. For example, doctor may earn more than many other people because of their skill are valuable. However, this inequality is justified only if their work contribute to a healthcare system that benefit everyone, including the poorest member of society. Rawls also emphasized fair inequality of opportunity. He argued that people with similar talent and abilities should have equal chance to succeed, regardless of their social background, family wealth, race or other circumstances beyond their control. This means that simply allowing competition is not enough. Society must actively remove barriers that prevent disadvantaged individuals from accessing education, employment and other opportunities. True fairness requires more than formal equality. Rawls' theory became highly influential because it combined liberty with concern for social justice. He sought a middle path between unrestricted capitalism and complete economic equality, creating a framework that protects both freedom and fairness. However, not everyone agreed with Rawls. Some critics argue that his approach gave too much importance to redistribution and government intervention. One of most famous critics was Robert Nozick, who developed a very different understanding of justice. Robert Nozick offered a powerful defense of individual liberty and property right. Unlike Rawls, who focused on fair distribution, Nozick argued that justice depends on how people acquire and exchange their holding rather than on achieving a particular pattern of distribution. Nozick theory is known as the entitlement theory of justice. According to him, a distribution of wealth is just if individuals acquire their possession fairly and transform them voluntarily. The final outcome itself does not need to be equal. To understand this theory, Nozick identified three principles. The first is justice in acquisition. This principle explains how individuals can legitimately acquire resources that are previously unowned, provided they do so without violating other rights. The second principle is justice in transfer. Once property is acquired legitimately, people are free to exchange, sell, donate or transfer involuntarily. If these exchanges occur without force or fraud, the resulting distribution remains just. The third principle is rectification of injustice. If property was obtained through theft, coercion or other unfair means, steps must be taken to correct the injustice. Only then can a distribution be considered legitimate. For Nozick, individual rights are extremely important. He argued that people own themselves and therefore have a right to the fruit of their labor. Taking part of someone's earning through excessive redistribution violates personal liberty. Because of this belief, Nozick supported what he called the minimal state. Such a state perform only essential functions like protecting citizens from violence, theft, and fraud while enforcing contract and maintaining public order. Nozick opposed border state activities such as large-scale welfare programs and redistributive taxation. He believed that forcing people to surrender their earning for social purpose treat them as means to other ends rather than a free individual. To defend his position, Nozick criticized pattern theories of justice. He argued that any attempt to maintain equality required constant interference in people's voluntary choice, ultimately restricting freedom and individual autonomy. Although Nozick and Rawls share a commitment to liberty, they disagree deeply about equality and redistribution. This debate set the stage for another influential liberal thinker, Ronald Dworkin, who sought to reconcile equality with personal responsibility. Ronald Dworkin believed that a just society must treat all individuals with equal concern and respect. Like Rawls, he valued equality, but he also believed that people should be responsible for the choices they make in life. His theory tried to balance equality and personal responsibility. Dworkin argued that equality should not mean giving everyone exactly the same amount of wealth or resource. Instead, justice required ensuring that people begin with a fair share of resources so that they can pursue their own goals and ambition. To explain this idea, Dworkin introduced the concept of equality of resource. According to him, a fair society distributes resources in a way that no person has reason to envy another person's share. This idea is often called envy test. Imagine a group of people settling on an island with available resources. If resources are divided fairly and no one feels that another person's share is more desirable than their own, then the distribution can be considered equal and just. However, Dworkin recognized that people are different. Some individuals may work harder, take greater risks, or make different choices. Therefore, inequalities that result from personal decision may be acceptable because they reflect individual responsibility. At the same time, Dworkin distinguished between choice and circumstances. People should be responsible for outcomes that result from their own decision, but they should not be disadvantaged because of factors beyond their control. He called this distinction option luck and brute luck. Option luck referred to the consequences that arise from deliberate choice, such as starting a business. Brute luck referred to the circumstances people did not choose, such as disability, illness, or family background. Dworkin believed that justice should compensate for disadvantages caused by brute luck. Society should help individuals who suffer from circumstances beyond their control so that everyone has a genuine fair opportunities to succeed. To achieve this goal, Dworkin proposed a hypothetical insurance model. He imagined people designing a society before knowing their future circumstances. In such a situation, many would choose insurance against illness, disability, and disability or other disadvantages. This idea suggests that social welfare program can be justified because rational individuals would support protection against risks they themselves might someday face. Welfare, therefore, is not charity but a requirement of fairness. Dworkin theory attempts to combine the strength of Rawls and Nozick. Like Rawls, he cared deeply about equality. Like Nozick, he emphasized personal responsibility. His goal was to create a more balanced understanding of justice. By linking equality with responsibility, Dworkin influenced debate about taxation, welfare policies, healthcare, and education. His work remained an important contribution to contemporary liberal political philosophy. While Dworkin focused on equality within societies, another major thinker expanded the discussion further. Amartya Sen shifted attention towards what people are actually able to do and become, leading to his influential capabilities approach. Amartya Sen is one of the most influential contemporary political philosophers and economists. He challenged traditional theories of justice by arguing that justice should focus less on ideal institutions and more on reducing real human suffering and injustice. Sen appreciated the contribution of thinkers like Rawls, but he believed that searching for a perfectly just society is not always the most useful approach. Instead, we should identify existing injustice and work to reduce them whenever possible. According to Sen, justice is not simply about designing ideal rules. It's also about examining how people actually live. A society may have good laws on paper, but if people continue to suffer deprivation and exclusion, genuine justice has not been achieved. This practical approach led Sen to develop a comparative theory of justice. Rather than comparing real societies with an imaginary perfect society, he suggests comparing existing situations and choosing the option that reduces injustice the most. Sen also expanded the discussion of justice beyond national boundaries. In an increasingly interconnected world, poverty, inequality, disease, and environmental problems often affect peoples across countries and continents. For this reason, Sen argued that question of justice should not stop at national border. Human beings everywhere deserve moral consideration, and global institutions should pay attention to the well-being of all people, not only their own citizens. He emphasized the importance of public reasoning and democratic discussion. Justice improves when people from different backgrounds participate in open debate, exchange ideas, and challenge unfair practices through collective dialogue. Sen believed that democracy is valuable not only because it allows people to vote. More importantly, it creates opportunity for public discussion, accountability, and criticism, helping society's identity and correct injustice. Another key feature of Sen's approach is his concern for human diversity. Individuals differ in age, health, gender, social condition, and personal abilities. Therefore, equal resource alone may not guarantee equal opportunities. For example, two individuals may receive the same income, yet one may face severe health challenges requiring additional support. Looking only at income would ignore important differences in people's actual ability to live fulfilling lives. Looking only at income would ignore important differences in people's actual ability to live fulfilling lives. This insight leads Sen towards his most famous contribution, the capability approach. Instead of focusing solely on wealth, resource, or utility, he asks a deeper question: what are people genuinely capable of being and doing? The capability approach places human freedom at the center of justice. Sen argued that development and justice should be evaluated by the real freedom people enjoy rather than simply by economic growth or the amount of resource they possess. According to Sen, having resource is important, but resources are only a means to an end. What truly matters is whether people can use those resources to achieve valuable goals, live the kinds of lives they have reason to value. To explain this idea, Sen introduced two important concepts: functioning and capabilities. Functioning are these things a person actually manages to do or become, such as being educated, healthy, employed, or politically active. Capabilities, on the other hand, refer to real opportunities available to a person. They represent the range of meaningful choices from which an individual can select. Greater capabilities mean greater freedom to shape one's own life. For example, two people may both be hungry. One person may be fasting voluntarily while the other lacks food because of poverty. Their functioning appears similar, but their capabilities are very different because their choices are different. This example shows why freedom matters. Justice is not only about outcomes, but also about having genuine opportunities. People should have the capability to choose among different ways of living, rather than being forced into a single option. Sen argued that society should invest in education, healthcare, nutrition, and social security, because these improve people's capabilities. Such investment expand freedom by enabling individuals to participate fully in social, economic, and political lives. The capability approach has influenced international organizations and development policies around the world. It plays a major role in shaping measures of human development that go beyond simple economic indicator like national income. Through this framework, Sen encourages policymakers to ask whether people are truly free to live healthy, educated, secure, and meaningful lives. Development should be judged by the expansion of human capabilities rather than wealth alone. Sen theory also complements liberal values by emphasizing both individual freedom and social responsibility. Freedom is important, but societies must create conditions that allow all individuals to exercise that freedom effectively. When viewed together, the ideas of Rawls, Nozick, Dworkin, and Sen reveal the richness of modern liberal thought. Each thinker offers a different answer to the question of justice, yet all seek to protect human dignity and individual freedom. Rawls emphasizes fairness and support for the least advantaged. Nozick defends liberty and property life. Dworkin combines equality with personal responsibility. Sen focus on capabilities and real freedom. Together, they represent major debate within contemporary liberalism. In conclusion, liberalism is a dynamic tradition that continues to shape discussion about freedom, equality, right, and justice. Its thinkers challenge us to create societies where individuals can live with dignity, enjoy meaningful opportunities, and participate as free and equal members of the community. If you are still watching, I hope you are finding this content useful. Please like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel and share your thought in the comment. Your support motivates me to create even more content like this.